of a police car in your rearview mirror are enough to make anyone's heart pound. For Ebony, a black woman driving home late one night, that familiar anxiety was amplified tenfold. Officer Miller, a man known in the community for his short fuse and biased stops, pulled her over. His hand was already on his holstered gun as he approached her window, his face a mask of suspicion. "License and registration," he barked, his voice sharp and accusatory. Ebony's hands trembled as she reached for her glove compartment. She knew this routine all too well. Every movement had to be slow, deliberate, and non-threatening. She could feel his eyes boring into her, judging her before she'd even spoken a word. "Why were you speeding in this neighborhood?" he demanded, though she knew she was driving well below the limit. As she handed over her documents, her 5-year-old son, David, stirred in the back seat. "Mommy, I'm scared," he whimpered, his small voice cutting through the tense silence. Officer Miller's gaze flickered to the back seat, his expression momentarily softening before hardening again. "Just stay quiet," Ebony whispered to her son, trying to project a calm she didn't feel. Officer Miller took his time examining her papers, shining his flashlight around her car as if searching for a reason to escalate the situation. He found none. Her license was valid, her registration was current, and her record was clean. Frustration seemed to grow on his face. He was looking for a problem, a justification for his prejudice, but Ebony was giving him nothing. He handed her documents back. "I'm letting you go with a warning this time," he said, the words sounding more like a threat than a reprieve. "But I'll be watching you. Drive carefully." As he walked back to his patrol car, Ebony let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. Her hands were still shaking. That night, sleep didn't come easily. The encounter replayed in her mind, a stark reminder of the daily injustices she faced. A few days later, a call came into the precinct. A frantic mother reported her son missing from a local park. Officer Miller was one of the first to respond. When he arrived, he saw the distraught mother, her face streaked with tears. It was Ebony. His heart sank. He saw not a suspect, but a terrified parent, just like any other. The park was large and wooded, and as dusk began to fall, the search grew more desperate. Miller joined the other officers and volunteers, fanning out across the area, calling David's name. He remembered the little boy's scared voice from the back of the car, and a pang of guilt hit him. He had been the one to frighten that child just a few nights ago. Hours passed. The search parties combed through every bush, checked every playground structure, and scanned the nearby creek. Hope was beginning to fade. Miller found himself pushing harder than anyone, driven by a new, unfamiliar feeling of responsibility. He pictured his own daughter, safe at home, and the thought of Ebony's pain was unbearable. He decided to double back to a dense, overgrown area near the edge of the park that others had only cursorily searched. Pushing through thick branches, he called out, "David, it's okay. We're here to help you." He heard a faint sound, a tiny sob. Following the noise, he found David huddled under a large fern, shivering and crying. He had gotten lost while chasing a butterfly and was too scared to call out. Miller scooped the little boy into his arms. "It's all right, buddy. We've got you. You're safe now," he said, his voice gentle and reassuring. He carried David out of the woods and back towards the command post. The moment Ebony saw him, she collapsed in relief, running to embrace her son. When she looked up, her eyes met Miller's. There was no anger, only immense gratitude. Miller, however, couldn't meet her gaze. The memory of their last encounter flooded his mind. He had treated this woman, this loving mother, with such disdain and suspicion. He had been so wrong. He knelt down, not just to be at eye level with David, but as an act of contrition. "Ma'am," he started, his voice thick with emotion. "I am so sorry. For everything. For the other night, the way I treated you. It was unprofessional. It was unfair. And it was wrong. There's no excuse for it." Tears welled up in his eyes. "Seeing you tonight, seeing your fear for your son. It made me realize I was blinded by my own prejudice." Ebony looked at this man, this officer who had once been the source of her fear, now on his knees in shame. She saw not an enemy, but a human being capable of change. She placed a hand on his shoulder. "Thank you," she said softly. "Thank you for finding my son, and thank you for this." That night changed Officer Miller. It was the beginning of a long journey of unlearning years of ingrained bias. He started actively working to be a better officer and a better person. He initiated community outreach programs, volunteered his time, and most importantly, he started seeing people, not stereotypes. The encounter with Ebony and David didn't just save a lost child, it saved a man from his own prejudice, reminding everyone that empathy and understanding can build bridges where there were once only walls. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched you, please consider liking the video and subscribing to our channel for more content that inspires and uplifts. We'll see you in the next one. What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we re-diving into a story that sounds like it is straight out of a movie script, but it's all too real. It's a powerful lesson about perception, power, and what happens when authority comes face to face with an uncomfortable truth. Imagine this. A black man is walking down the street in his own neighborhood, minding his own business, when suddenly he's stopped and questioned by police. It's an unfortunately common story for many, but what happened next in this particular case is what makes it unforgettable. The man they were harassing, he was their new mayor. This all went down in the city of Goldsboro, North Carolina. The man at the center of it all was Silas P. Norman, who had just made history by being elected as the city's first African-American mayor. Mayor Norman was taking a walk through his community, a simple act most of us take for granted. He was checking on city properties, getting a feel for the streets he now had the responsibility to lead. He was dressed casually, just another resident out for a stroll. And that's when it happened. Two white police officers pulled up and stopped him. According to Mayor Norman's own account, their approach wasn't friendly. They didn't ask, "Good morning, sir. How are you?" Instead, the questions were sharp, accusatory. "What are you doing here?" "Why are you looking at these houses?" The implication was clear. His presence was suspicious. He was being treated like a potential criminal in the very neighborhood he called home. Can you imagine the thoughts running through his head at that moment? He had spent his life working for his community, breaking barriers, and earning the highest office in the city, only to be profiled on his own turf. He described the feeling as being deeply humiliating. Here he was, the mayor, being treated as if he didn't belong. For a few tense moments, he was just another statistic, another black man being questioned for simply existing. So how did Mayor Norman handle it? He remained calm. He knew that escalating the situation wouldn't help. He simply looked at the officers and identified himself. He said, "I'm Silas Norman, and I'm the mayor of this city." You can just picture the scene, the sudden shift in the atmosphere, the officers' expressions changing from suspicion to shock, and then to utter embarrassment. The power dynamic flipped in an instant. The two officers, who held all the authority just moments before, were now standing in front of their ultimate boss. Their tone changed immediately. Apologies started pouring out. Suddenly, it was all, "Mr. Mayor this," and "So sorry, sir," that. They explained that they were just responding to a call about a suspicious person in the area, a common justification in these types of encounters. But for Mayor Norman, the damage was already done. The apology couldn't erase the feeling of being profiled, of being seen not as a leader or even a fellow citizen, but as a threat. The story quickly hit the news, and the fallout was significant. It sparked a massive conversation, not just in Goldsboro but across the country. People were outraged, but not necessarily surprised. For many in the black community, Mayor Norman's experience was a high-profile example of what they faced every single day. The incident laid bare the reality of implicit bias in policing. These officers didn't see a man taking a walk. They saw a black man in a place they felt he shouldn't be, and their training, or perhaps their prejudice, kicked in. In the aftermath, the city had to reckon with this public embarrassment. The police chief issued a formal apology. Mayor Norman, showing incredible grace, didn't call for the officers to be fired. Instead, he used the incident as a teachable moment. He saw it as a critical opportunity to address the systemic issues within his own police department and in the broader community. He knew that firing 2 officers wouldn't solve the root problem. The problem was deeper. It was about culture, training, and the very way officers are taught to see the people they are sworn to protect. Mayor Norman initiated new programs focused on community policing and sensitivity training. He wanted to bridge the gap between law enforcement and the citizens of Goldsboro. He pushed for policies that would encourage officers to get to know the residents in the neighborhoods they patrolled, to build relationships based on trust, not suspicion. He argued that if those officers had known their community, they would have known their mayor. They would have seen a neighbor, not a suspect. This story from Goldsboro isn't just about a single mistaken identity. It's a microcosm of a much larger struggle. It highlights the starkly different realities that people of color often experience, even when they achieve positions of power and influence. Mayor Norman's title didn't shield him from prejudice. In that moment, his status was invisible. Only the color of his skin was seen. It's a sobering reminder that systemic issues don't just disappear when one person breaks a barrier. The incident forces us to ask some tough questions. How many other people who don't have the title of mayor to protect them endure this same treatment without any recourse? How many of those stories never get told? Mayor Norman had a platform. He had the power to turn his humiliation into a catalyst for change. But for every Mayor Norman, there are countless others whose voices are silenced, whose experiences are dismissed. What's truly powerful about this story is the mayor's response. He could have reacted with anger and demanded retribution. No one would have blamed him. Instead, he chose a path of constructive action. He turned a negative personal experience into a positive force for his entire city. He focused on building bridges, not burning them. He demonstrated what true leadership looks like, using your power not for personal revenge but for the betterment of the community you serve. The story of Mayor Silas Norman is a timeless lesson. It reminds us that our perceptions are powerful and that our biases, conscious or not, have real-world consequences. It's a call for empathy, for understanding, and for the hard work of building a society where everyone is seen for who they are, not for what stereotypes dictate. It's about ensuring that no one, whether they're the mayor or a mailman, is made to feel like a stranger in their own community. This happened years ago, but its message is more relevant than ever. It's a story that should be told in every police academy, in every city hall, and in every community struggling with issues of trust between police and citizens. It shows us that change is possible, but it requires courage, dialogue, and a genuine commitment to seeing each other's humanity. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this incredible story today. It's these moments in history that truly make us think. If you found this story as powerful as I did, please hit that like button, and Don T, forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next video. We love diving into these important conversations with you all. Take care and see you in the next one.